13.
I forgot we have an Article 13 here that's associated with this. Article 13, special town meeting. Shall the town of Littleton, if Article 12 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 12 cost items only. No tax impact. Recommended by the Selectmen 3-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee 3-1. Just to give you a little bit more information, a special meeting costs about $1,500. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Thank you.
We good? Ready for the question? Article 13, those in favor of placing it on the ballot? Aye. Opposed, no? Okay, the ayes have it. Article 14. Aye.
Article 14, the ASME collective bargaining agreement. To see if the town will vote to approve the cost item included in the 2-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the Board of Selectmen and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 93, Local 1348, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. 2017, $5,969, 2018, $12,670, 2019, $3,649. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,969 for the current fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation at current staffing levels paid in the prior fiscal year. The estimated tax impact is 0.008 cents per thousand, recommended by the Selectmen 3-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 4-0. Excuse me. I've moved the inclusion of Article 14 to the warrant.
Second. Okay, discussion on this.
On your booklet again, slide number 47, I'm going to go over the calculations for this. The first year, the wages with wage-related benefits, $15,967, and that's for 9 months. Health insurance savings for changes in plans, increases to the employee's share of the premium, and reducing the insured elsewhere buyout is a savings of $12,777 for 9 months. Uniform cost increases for the transfer station and highway department is $500. Uniform cost increases to the fire department is $300. An on-call stipend for Sunday with wage-related benefits, this is for 9 months, and I'll explain it a little further as we get into this, is $1,979. That comes up with the total for the first year, $5,969. The second year, with wages and wage-related benefits, the increase is $20,792. That's for the full year. Health insurance savings, because again, there's savings on the employee's share of the health insurance premium. That's $8,782 for the full year. On-call stipend for Sundays with wage-related benefits is for a 3-month calculation is $660. The second year total, $12,670. The carryover into 2019, I incorrectly typed on this paperwork $6,392. It is actually $3,649, and I apologize. Some of the calculations, the way that it's calculated is the first year the employees will get 1 step. That's a 2.58% increase. In year 2, the employees will get no step to this wage schedule. they will receive an increase of 2.5%. For insurance changes, year one, again, the Blue Choice two-tier plan with no deductible is completely eliminated. There is an HMO with $250 to $750 deductible. That will have an increase to the employee's share from 12.5% to 14%. The year two, the employees will see another increase in that share of 14% to 16%. We're going to offer another plan with them, which is the HMO SOS plan with the $1,000 to $3,000 deductible. The employee's share of this premium would be 2% a year the first year and 3% the second year. The high deductible $5,000 plan, where employees currently do not pay anything toward the premium, is going to be eliminated. The health insurance, if somebody is insured elsewhere, will be reduced for new hires from $3,000 per year to $2,000 per year. Under uniform changes, we're adding $50 per year toward the highway department and transfer station, 2 pairs of boots. They get 1 pair in the winter, 1 pair in the summer. The fire department employees' allowance will change from $400 to $450 per year, and added to the list of uniform items is 2 pair of uniform shorts and 1 pair of wildland fire pants. Sunday coverage at the fire department. We have agreed to a Sunday on-call stipend for 1 full-time firefighter each Sunday rotating throughout the year. The stipend amount is $50 per Sunday, and the firefighter who's on for that Sunday must be within the responding area and be prepared to fight fires and respond to other emergencies. Other changes in the contract: there's language allowing probationary periods to be waived for transferred or promoted employees, language allowing for leave time for probationary employees, language for leave during an adoption. The fitness workout times have changed from 10 per month to 120 per year. Mileage reimbursement for use of personal vehicles to town required training is added, and residency for the fire department employees to work within 30 minutes year-round versus 20 minutes on certain months of the year.
Article 14, ready for the question? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Bill Sensabaugh. I am on the call company for the Littleton Fire Department. Excuse my voice. I know I can't do anything about negotiating contract. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been a union employee. I've been a non-union
Can you
employee.
hear it? No. So maybe just set that up a little
Okay.
bit. Okay.
In any event, looking at some of the stuff here saying, who negotiated the contract for the fire department? Would you plan up and identify yourself, please? I don't know who you are.
Kara Noyes, Finance and HR Director. I was one of the participants in the negotiations.
Representing the Board of Selectmen, Skylar Sweet.
Andrew Dorset, Town Manager.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Fire chief, okay.
I have a few problems with what I'm seeing here. From 2010 to 2017, the call company has covered that station every Sunday with regard to none. Didn't matter whether it was a holiday or whatever it was. It's the call guys. Guys who work full-time a day during the weekdays and come in and cover it on Sundays. And what you're telling me right now is somebody's going to give them $50 to carry a pager on them that I carry in me 365 days a year. Granted, I'm too old probably to go inside fighting fires anymore. But I like to take care of my men and my people that are working for me. Where in the world did somebody come up with $50 to get a guy to carry a pager? Does that mean that that full-time firefighter is going to be on a guaranteed Sunday shift to cover us when we're not there? And if he is on a coverage time all the time, does that mean the call company doesn't have to respond anymore because we're not qualified? Is that what that means? We're all trained personnel. We've all been through the same thing that every one of the fires has been through. In fact, one of our lead captains is a instructor in the fire academy. That's not qualified. I think I have a problem with that. I don't know where we get sold out for $50, but it's kind of a slap in our face. And you're talking about taking care of the police department, and I don't begrudge them a bit. Those guys deserve it, every buck that they get. But we're going to talk about a raise for the call company people. Is that even in the equation? I doubt it. I'd come into those Sunday calls, and you could leave the checkbook on the counter. I'd come in anyway. But when you kick me somewhere between the kneecap and the hip bone, that hits every one of us down there at the department. I'm sorry to say, folks, you made a mistake. I can live with it.
I'm hoping I can respond to that a little bit. My name is Karen Noyce. We aren't saying that the call company is unqualified. We are not saying that the call company isn't worth it. In fact, the chief, the town manager, and I will be talking this Friday about call company. I can't get into any further discussion about it, but the call company has been instrumental during the times that we've had reduced staff. They have come in, they've covered shifts, they filled in, they do come to Sunday calls, and they are very highly qualified people.
Good evening, Joe Mercieri, Fire Chief. The call company has been covering Sundays for quite a long time. If you recall, about 5 years ago, we experienced a budget cut in which the fire department lost 2 employees, which equated to 1 entire shift. And in some way, somehow, we had to make up for that shift. Now, you got to understand what a call company is, what they originally signed up for. They're on call. Basically, they're not full-time employees. They never signed up to work a shift. They never signed up to be told that they're going to report at a certain time on a certain day. Right? So when we experienced this cut, we were looking for a way to fill the gap. How do we fill this gap in our schedule? What's going to happen on Sundays? So we approached the call company and we asked, can you fill Sundays? And actually, in a way, it was presented in that it's imperative that you fill Sundays. We need you to fill Sundays. So for the last 5 years, the call company has been filling Sunday shifts. How do they fill the shifts? They're not at the station, right? There's no firefighter at the station. They're home. We don't tie up their day. They're free to go wherever they want, do whatever they want. Within the last 5 years, this has not been a perfect remedy. We have had coverage gaps. We've had instances where a call would come in and we wouldn't have enough people show up to staff the truck. That's problematic, right? That poses a very significant issue for us. Rewind, go back three and a half years ago. We've been struggling with this Sunday coverage now for 5 years. And yes, the call company's done an admirable job. They've done a bang-up job, right? This is not a slap in the face on the call company. Basically, we attempted to do the same thing in the previous labor contract, right? We were successful this time around. Why did we do it? One, we have a group of full-time employees, right? Think about Sunday coverage. What's our remedy? We have a few remedies. One, we ask you, the taxpayer, to hire 2 more firefighters. Now, we know what that cost is. And I'll be honest with you, that's an expensive proposition. It certainly is, right? 2, we look for part-time employees. Again, we're going to be adding more employees to the employee pool. Or 3, we look at our own employees, look at our schedule, and find a way that we can utilize current manpower, current staffing, to help us supplement and provide coverage for that gap. And that's what this was about. We have 6 full-time employees. What we've done here is we asked if they would consider being available, 1 full-time employee every Sunday, to have a guaranteed person there, as well as help with the call company response, right? So that we will have adequate staffing for Sundays. The goal here is to have adequate staffing for Sundays. It's not a slap in anyone's face. Karen Noyes mentioned that we have some talks coming up. We certainly do, all right? One of the things that we are talking about, and she didn't elaborate, but I will elaborate a little further, is I also have this wonderful pool of call company employees who, in fact, we have yet to sit down with and discuss providing the same stipend and add possibly a little bit more money in their pocket. We have yet to do that. So there's 2 segments to this equation. Unfortunately, Mr. Sensabaugh doesn't have that information regarding the other half of this information. Right? So hopefully what we can do is we can take both these segments, right? We can take the supplement and a stipend and have a full-time employee there, as well as have a stipend for the call company group there, and that's going to alleviate, right, our Sunday coverage gaps, in my opinion. And also, my opinion, is certainly a little bit more cost-effective at this point in time than me coming to you and asking you to hire 2 more employees. That's the idea behind this. Right? And hopefully what we can do is we can increase this and we can perpetuate this so then we can improve Sunday coverage even further. So it's a start. Any questions? All right, thank you. Yes, yes, Stan.
You have 6 full-time firefighters. Does that not include you?
No, it doesn't include me. I'm on Sundays no matter what. I'm on Sundays forever.
All right. Do you have any other full-time employees?
No.
Okay, so there's 7 of you.
Yeah, there's 7 of us total, but I'm talking to 6 who are covered under the bargaining agreement. Yes. So if you think of it, there's going to be 1 person who's going to work every 6th Sunday.
Do you have the same issue with Saturdays?
No, Saturdays is covered by full-time employees, and as well as we have call company availability.
I was just thinking, I mean, if you got 6 full-time employees.
Stan, you
Yeah.
want to come?
I'm not that tall. If you got 6 full-time employees and each one works 40 hours, so that's, you have 240 hours available. And in a week's time, if you had 24 hours a day times 7, it seems like, I mean, That's what, 140, 160 hours. So it seems like there would be enough play to have 7 days worth of coverage with 6 employees.
It's not because of the requirement that we pay them overtime after 42 hours.
Yeah, but I use 40 hours, 40
Yes.
times.
But we don't pay them. If in your equation, if we were following, if we were using the Fair Labor Standards equation, right, that would work. Unfortunately, we pay them 42 hours a week. Anything over 42 hours is going to be time and a half, except for the first 3 hours of callback, which would be at straight time. So basically,
You need 2 people per shift.
right, you need 2 people per shift.
Is
So-
that a requirement?
What's that?
Is
It's
that a
con-
requirement?
It's contractual.
Oh, it's part of the
It is.
labor contract?
Yes,
that we
it
have?
is. Right.
So it's not fire standard code that you have
No,
to?
it's contractual. It's a part of labor
Okay,
contract.
thank you.
You're welcome. That's right. That's 48 hours a week.
Ready for the question? Place Article 14 on the ballot for the March 14th election, balloting. Those in favor say yes? Yes. Opposed, no? Okay, so Article 14 goes on the ballot. So Article 15.
Article 15, special town meeting. Shall the town of Littleton, if Article 14 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special at its option to address Article 14, cost items only. There's no tax impact. It was recommended by the selectmen, 3-0, recommended by the budget committee, 4-0. I move Article 15 be put on the ballot.
Okay, we good on that. Article 15. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, 16 is coming up. Ed, you have that one?
Article 16, unexpended Conservation Commission funds, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $210 to be placed in the Conservation Commission Capital Reserve Fund previously established. This amount represents the unexpended portion of the Conservation Commission's 2016 appropriation. There is no tax impact. Recommended by the selectmen, 3-0, recommended by the budget committee, 4-0. I'd like to move that Article 16 be added to the ballot.
Second. Okay. Thank you. Ready for the question? Article 16. Those in favor of placing that article on the ballot, say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, so we're up to Article 17.
Article 17, amend the lease limit amount. To see if the town will amend the lease restrictions that were placed on the town at the 2006 town meeting warrant. Article number 35, a $2,000 limit on leases. The amendment would increase the limit to $65,000. No tax impact, recommended by the selectmen, 3-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee, 0-0. The Budget Committee vote reads that way, as this was not a financial article, so it did not go before the Budget Committee. I will move Article 17.
Okay, all right.
This article, this restriction was put on years ago. I believe it was 2006. And at that time, there were some political issues that I think caused it to be put on, including police department leasing a space at Cottage Hospital as well as school, leasing some facilities, some extra classroom space. But what's happened now is now we're in 2017. $20,000 while it may be a lot to an individual, for a town, it's really restrictive. What we're running into is when we find areas where we can actually create efficiencies and save money through doing short-term leases. For example, a lease purchase on a phone system to consolidate the entire town's phone system onto one account, which right now we're kind of operating independently, or getting all of our copiers under one contract so we can get a better proposal from companies. We run into this limit. A phone system, for example, would be $50,000 plus, but we would see zero tax impact, and then after a short period of time, 2 or 3 years, we would begin to see some significant cost savings. So what this does is enables us to manage the town a little more efficiently, find cost savings, and that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.
Ready for Article 17. Ready for the question. All those in favor of placing Article 17 on the ballot, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Moving to Article 18.
Article 18, Opera House Energy Reduction Improvements. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $44,200 for the purpose of demolition, construction, air sealing, and insulating areas of the Littleton Opera House as identified in the Energy Audit Report to reduce energy usage and to further authorize the selectmen to apply for, accept, and expend grants or other funds available for this purpose. Estimated savings to the taxpayer is 3,789 gallons of propane per year. Estimated tax impact, 6.1 cents. Recommended by the selectmen, 2-1. Recommended by the Budget Committee, 5-0. I would move Article 18.
Second.
Okay. And I believe Peter Cooper, member of the Energy Committee, will speak to this article.
Good evening. My name is Bill Gender. I'm with the Littleton Energy Conservation Committee. I worked with the auditors last year. The town did give us money to go ahead and do an energy audit on the Opera House as well as the fire station. Because of that, we found with the Opera House there was significant areas of improvement that could be made. And so we went forward talking with the Board of Selectmen as well as the Opera House Commission, and we put together this warrant article. I want to just give you a quick briefing on some of the things that we're looking at. The air sealing and insulating in the attic, although there's quite a bit in there, there are still areas that are very weak, and all the penetrations for ductwork and stuff that go down through into the building, there's no air sealing done, so we have plenty of, whether it's hot air or cold air for air conditioning, goes right back up into our attic, so there's a tremendous amount of losses there. The insulation that's on the ductwork is low, so that's going to be increased if this is passed. We have spots inside the building, especially up on the 3rd level, penetrations that go through walls that once again allows air to escape and then go out of the building. Those will be addressed. The level 2 exterior walls and storage area, there's quite a bit of work down there. One of the things that is going to have to be done, we're going to have to do some demolition of existing walls, but then build new walls with a barrier on that because of the restrictions with the Opera House being on the historical register. We cannot use spray foam insulation on any of the existing structure. So that added a little bit to the cost as far as the frame and the walls, and that's why you see that there's no payback on those items there. The other areas is we have 3rd floor storage area, and once again there's quite a few penetrations in there. So with all this work that will be done, if the town does approve this, we are looking at propane energy savings of approximately 3,879 gallons every year. And this doesn't go away. That's one of the beauties of doing this type of work. That'll be a savings for as long as the Opera House exists. And it also does give us some kilowatt savings of about 259 kilowatts per year, which is minimal, but it's still a cost-saving program. Peter Cooper is here to explain a little bit more regarding some funding that we have just been recently notified on.
Peter Cooper. Yeah, I've been pushing the state and Eversource, who administers these grant money, to see if this would be, we could get a rebate on this type of project, similar to what we did with the lighting project. And, you know, I got an answer this afternoon. And fortunately, we do get, we can get almost half covered by Eversource. The amount is about $20,000, not quite half, it's like 45%, but all these numbers or paybacks are very good. I mean, we're in the like 3-4 year payback, that kind of thing. So, and again, we're getting you know, $44,000 worth of improvements for $24,000. So in other words, we're taking advantage and leveraging this this outside money for these projects. Late breaking news, but very good news.
So for the late breaking news here, I move that we amend Article 18 to authorize the selectmen to accept a grant in the amount of $20,537 as offsetting revenue for this article. The amended tax impact will go from 6.1 cents to 3 cents per thousand. Do I have a second?
Second? So do you want to speak on that, or?
No, it's just that.
Any questions for me?
Well, now the amendment is open for discussion. Yeah. Any questions on that? So are you ready for the article as amended to be placed on the ballot? No. No? Okay. You want to speak about that?
Yeah. Oh boy. Carol, you have to vote the amendment first. Don't you have to vote on the amendment first? Yes.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so the amendment's on the floor and seconded and discussed. So those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? Okay, so the ayes have it on the amendment. Now do we want to discuss the article as amended?
Yes, aye. Ralph Eisman again. You just took the thunder out of my speech here tonight by doing this, because that is a significant improvement. However, here's my speech. You're saving 3,800 gallons of fuel a year with this improvement. How much fuel do you use in that opera house in 1 year when you only have one resident, which is the Chamber of Commerce, one full-time resident? How much fuel are you using in there?
The average fuel use in the Opera House is 5,992 gallons.
And you're going to
propane.
save almost 4,000? So you're only going to use 1,000 gallons a year after this is done?
That's correct. It's about a 60% savings.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Up till now, we've been hearing about all these warrant articles that are absolutely critical to this town. The sewer system, the police department, the fire department, all these. This is critical for the health and safety of our taxpayers. Now we're getting into stuff that I consider nice to do stuff that has no impact on the health or the safety of our taxpayers. Therefore, I'm really against putting any kind of money into the Opera House. For one thing, the Opera House only brought in $3,000 last year. But we're asking, through before you did this, we were asking for almost $88,000. So we're still asking for $60,000 to put into the Opera House on the budget, on the regular budget, and through the article. So here's a building that pretty much sits empty for most of the time that only brings us back in $3,000. It's owned by the town, but it's costing the taxpayers a fortune year after year after year, because every single year we have warrant articles put more and more money into this opera house. And many years ago, a few years ago, we put a lot of money into it to resolve some of the issues that it was having. And we still keep putting money into it. And the only thing we really do in here is you have one full-time employee or leaser, you have the Historical Society in there, and then you rent it out for programs on the stage, which apparently only brings in $3,000 a year. In my opinion, if we're going to maintain the Opera House has to be self-sufficient. You have to rent out the spaces. You have to rent out enough of that to be able to bring back the money that's needed to keep that thing operating, the Opera House operating. So to keep putting money into the Opera House doesn't make a lot of sense to me as a taxpayer, year after year after year. Therefore, I recommend that we do not accept this article.
Just a quick correction. We do have 2 full-time tenants, and we do have 2 full-time tenants in the building, Sullivan Creative and the Chamber of Commerce, and the venue is fairly active. And we do have, we are working right now to look at additional uses. It just can't happen overnight, so.
Well, with 2 full-time tenants and all the shows that go on the Opera House, you're only bringing in $3,000 a year? These tenants aren't paying a whole lot of money for that rental of that space.
So there are additional revenues. Some of the revenues are offsetting to help cover management of the venue. Karen can speak to that in more detail. But just one last thing back on the article. This is an improvement. It will help reduce the amount of taxpayer dollars that are needed to upkeep the Opera House in its current condition.
Karen Noyce. Under our revenue page of the budget, which is page 2 of 31, there's an area that says sale of town property and then rental of town property, which is line 30. As of the end of 2016, we had received $9,145. Part of that revenue is from rental of the Opera House to the Chamber, and the revenue for $3,000 is the use of the venue. The venue part is the meeting space, where the stage is, the meeting space where we had a budget meeting just recently, the town tower room. There are offsetting costs to renting out that space. We have to keep it clean. We have to maintain it. We have to pay for paper supplies. The amount of $3,000 is half of the revenue that was received in 2015, because our revenue for renting that space is split with the chamber, because the chamber manages the rental of that area, and the public and the publication and the selling of the use of that hall.
Okay, so basically, we're spending approximately $60,000 this year to take in, what, $12,000? Again, it's my personal opinion that if we're going to maintain that building as a town building, it needs to be self-sufficient. If we're not going to, if it's not going to be self-sufficient, we need to keep putting money into that building year after year after year. Next year, they'll be looking for more money for something else. What we did to it years and years ago for repairs, to bring that building up to code, to bring it up to so we could even exist in it, we're still putting more and more and more money into it. And I think at this point, that needs to stop. We need to stop putting money into that building.
Hi, I'm Eileen Webb. So it seems to me like, because this is an improvement, the question isn't, are we spending $44,000 on the Opera House? The question is whether we're spending it right now, and then 5 years from now, we start getting money back because we have now made improvements that have paid for themselves, or whether we spend that same $44,000 over the next 5 years and continue spending money to pay to heat and cool the Opera House over time. Like, the money's leaving our coffers either way. The question is whether 5 years from now, we're still going to be spending more money.
Okay, so what we have before us is a motion, it's been amended, and basically to amend the amount of 44,200 to 20,537, and to authorize the selectmen to accept a grant of the amount of 20,537, offsetting revenue for this article.
I don't mean to try to correct, but we have to gross budget, so we still have to spend the 44,000. We're accepting the revenue of the 20,537 as a grant. So we're reducing the amount that we're actually needing from the taxpayers, but we have to gross budget, so we do have to include that 44,000 that we were expending.
Okay, so the motion as presented stays the same, and then the amendment says to authorize the selectmen to accept the grant of 20,537, offsetting revenue for this article. You ready for the question? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, no? No. Okay, the ayes have it, so therefore, Article 18 is accepted with the amendment. Article 19.
Article 19, Opera House stage rigging. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to install and/or replace the rigging the stage as required per Safety Code NFPA 1983, and to further authorize the withdrawal of $15,000 from the Opera House Special Revenue Fund to offset this cost. There is no tax impact. Recommended by the Selectmen 2-1, recommended by the Budget Committee 5-0. Make a motion to put this on the warrant.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have it.
Okay, all right. So, Article 19, you ready for the question? Those in favor of placing Article 19 on the ballot for the March 14th meeting, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no?
No.
Okay, the ayes have it. Article 20.
Article 20, Remick Park Building Replacement Fund. To see if the town will vote and appropriate the sum of $20,000 for the purpose of placing into the already established 2015 Remick Park Building Replacement Fund Capital Reserve Fund. Estimated tax impact, 0.028 cents, recommended by the Selectmen, 2-1, not recommended by the Budget Committee, 4-1. I think this is Andrews. Excuse me, I forgot again. I move that Article 20 be placed on the ballot.
Okay. If you want to go to the next slide. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the project and the timeline. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of small, but this is a project that started, came to the town's attention back in August of 2014. It started with a community survey. We figured out back then, this is before my time, but that a new recreation facility might be needed. In October of 2014, the Recreation Commission began to review and discuss the facility. In December of 2014, there was an inspection by state electrical inspector and the fire marshal, and violations were determined, and the building was looked at as not suitable for use. In January of 2015, repairs and assessment costs were looked at. The costs looked to exceed the building's value and had limited use. In March of 2015, there was Article 26 on the town warrant that created a replacement fund and put $10,000 into an account to study planning, designing a new building. In December of 2015 to about February of 2016, the building committee was appointed by the Recreation Commission, and in March through April of 2016, the building committee met and reviewed the town's needs for recreation. They determined that a new facility needed to be put up, and that the Recreation Commission should determine the best suitable design. In June, myself, the Recreation Coordinator, began discussions on a process. In October of last year, we developed a phased project outline, and in November, the Recreation Coordinator, Recreation Maintenance Coordinator, and I developed an RFP to accomplish the project in a 4-phase project. In December, we released our RFP. In January, we received proposals from architectural firms. The Recreation Commission appointed a RFP review committee. We reviewed those and selected an architectural firm. So the first phase of the project will take the $10,000 that was approved in Article 26. Phase 2, this is what this Article 20 is about. And the architectural firm selected, we have Chris Salmon, if I make sure I say your name correctly, from Solomon, I'm sorry, from the architectural firm, and he's going to describe the facility at Remick Park and our process.
So thank you for having us. So we were just selected as the architect for kind of a two-part phase on this project. One, we wanted to look back at the history of Littleton's parks and start to develop a vision for the future. You guys have a lot of facilities here, and we didn't want to come in on this and just design a building for you guys, and we really didn't know what you guys need. So as part of the study, we're going to look back and develop a vision and a plan for the future of Littleton. So with that, and I'm sure all of you have the handout, we're going to go back and look at all of the existing conditions of your 9 park facilities in town. So it's not just designing at Remy Park. We're then going to meet with the commissioners and develop what are your needs for the future in terms of your facilities and your programming, so we can expand throughout the town. We're then going to meet with the town and in kind of an open forum such as this, and to hear what your needs are and what your desires for Littleton's Parks Departments are. We're going to review that with the commission and then start to really formalize what the future of Littleton's Park Departments are going to be, and does that become a building? We're then going to present our findings of what the future is going to be with the town and begin preliminary design of that building. So we'll start to formalize what the parks are going to be in the future. With that, that's what the $10,000 that's been approved and what we've been hired to do currently. What we're here today is to approve the next $20,000 so that then we can get into the design of that building and we can start to figure out what the facilities are. Right now, we don't know what the building is going to be, but by the end of this study, we're going to know exactly what the needs are of the town. So then we want to get into designing the building so that then we can come back to you with a design and a budget for that building, so that in following years you guys can vote to approve a new facility. But we need to know what the building is going to be and how much it's going to cost before we can do that. So that's what our kind of phase 1 is going to be, the preliminary study, and phase 2 is going to be to develop the actual building itself.
Ready for the question? Yes, go ahead.
Is this building a $5,000 building or a $1 million building? We're spending $30,000, and what are we getting out of that? And what value is the building?
So we won't have an idea of what the building will cost until we have a design, and we won't have a design until we
spend $30,000 to do that.
So I don't know.
Is that what you're going to do?
We're going. Yes, we're going to use an architectural firm.
You shouldn't do it.
So one of the things to think about, this is something that came up before, was, with, for example, the highway garage, we were able to have a design build with a contractor. With a highway garage, we have a set number of vehicles that do a specified function every day. It's very predictable. With a recreation facility, we can build something, but it may not fit the needs of the community at all. We can build something, maybe it duplicates something that's already there. We can recreate something that maybe doesn't meet the needs for more than even 2 years. What this project will really do is figure out what the future is for recreation, which is a key component of the town, not just for this facility, but for all of our facilities. It starts to get us to look at a long-range plan. Eventually, we'd like to do a long-range master plan for recreation as well.
Hi again, Carla Peacock. I don't know how many of you have actually ever been in that building in the last couple of years, but frankly, it is disgusting. I don't know how much it costs, but I'm willing to support what needs to happen to find out how we can have a building that our Parks and Recreation Department can use and be useful. We have kids growing up that need a place to gather, whether it's for basketball, soccer, baseball. They need to be able to use a clean bathroom, the ice skating rink. That building as it is right now, I won't allow my children to go in. I am not an expert on how much this costs, but I am willing to bet that those who are an expert have the best interest in mind. And I fully support the fact that you are trying to figure out what the town needs and what the building will be used for. Thank you.
Joe DePalma speaking as a citizen, not the Public Works Director. I have a personal experience with this architectural firm. We built the Alpine Clinic with his firm. It won awards both architecturally based and energy based. Very easy to work with, very competitive. I know the general contractor there shopped their price pretty well. I know Andrew's done his due diligence with this, and I give you my endorsement as a good architect that might be probably the best fit I could think of for this project.
Okay, we good? Those in favor of placing Article 20 on the ballot for the March 14th voting, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, the ayes have it. Now we're moving to the petition articles.
Article 21, Littleton Chamber of Commerce, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to support the downtown beautification efforts of the Littleton Chamber of Commerce. And there's a list here, as you can see. Purchase downtown flowers for $4,250, watering downtown flowers $3,500, downtown piano tuning and covers $5,000, purchase downtown umbrellas $400, purchase holiday decorations $1,850, estimated tax impact 2.1 cents per thousand, recommended by the selectmen 3-0, recommended by the budget committee 6-1 with one abstention. I would like to move the article to the warrant.
Second.
Thank you. There are people here from the chamber. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for hanging in with us. 9:30, well done. My name is Jessica Bunker, and I am the Interim Executive Director for the Littleton Area Chamber of Commerce. And Seal's doing a good job helping me go to the next slide if we could. Thank you. So as we discussed, the warrant article is asking for approval of $15,000 towards our downtown beautification projects. We've included specifically a breakout of the expenses this year so that you're able to see exactly what those costs, what the funding would cover if approved. If the chamber warrant article is passed, the monies would go directly to the 4 improvement projects you see listed, not to a general operating fund. And if we could go to the next slide. So obviously, as we're talking about the range of expenses, why is downtown important? Why is there a need for revitalization strategies such as the ones we're presenting here? I'm going to share a quote from an urban designer and city planner, Andy Kitzinger, who offers an excellent explanation, in my opinion. And his quote is, "Vital downtowns are essential because downtowns are the heart of a town and region. And having a healthy heart is essential to having a strong town and region. Downtowns throughout North America, including here, are making a major contribution to the bottom line of their municipalities. In most cases, downtowns serve as the engine for local economies. But downtowns are much more than a profit center to cities. They also represent the image and character of a city to the rest of the world. Downtowns are unique in that they are typically the only neighborhood that belongs to and is shared by everyone in that region. And I think that can definitely be said of our downtown here in Littleton." And to our last slide, if we could. So the streetscape improvements that we're asking for in the Chamber's warrant article are an economic development tool. These projects are part of our mission to help brand the Littleton area both for tourism as well as relocation. So perhaps most importantly, we are also able to document that our beautification projects are effective. In 2016, the Chamber participated in a study overseen by the UNH Cooperative Extension called the First Impressions Program, which many of you may have read about. The New Hampshire First Impressions is designed to help a community like ours learn about their downtown's existing assets and opportunities for improvement as seen through the eyes of first-time visitors. So some of the key findings of first-time visitors during this project were that they described our Main Street as charming, welcoming, walkable, bright, inviting, and warm. Art installations were well appreciated by the visiting team, from the hanging umbrellas to the pianos in Harmony Park. The team felt the artsy and folksy vibrancy of the community. So this third-party feedback really confirms for us that our downtown beautification projects help to brand our town and help to brand our area. These elements create an experience that visitors remember and share and that draw us to visit. So we ask that the town vote in favor of Article 21. Thank you for your time. And do you have any questions?
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion that we lump all the articles 21 to 32 and place it on the ballot to let the people decide.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor right now.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to take care of that one first.
Okay.
So discussion on Article 21. Yes.
Bob O'Connor. If this $15,000 is approved, I would ask one thing. This is a big benefit to the merchants on Main Street. That when winter comes and the drift gets plowed up there, when I was 40, I could jump over the drift and get from my car to the sidewalk. Pushing 80, I'm not up to jumping over drifts. I would appreciate it if the merchants would take a little time, shovel a path from the parking meter into their establishment. It's more welcoming that way. Thank you.
So, any other discussion on Article 21? All right, you ready for the question on 21? Those in favor of placing Article 21 as presented on the ballot, say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, the ayes have it. Oh. Well, it's okay, but maybe I can save you some time, Bill. You know, we've done this, what Bill's proposing, in the past. At this point in the meeting, many times, but we've been told that we can't do that anymore. So each article has to be at least brought up and dealt with individually. Is that right? Am I saying that right?
And because of that, I'll go fast. Article 22, petition warrant article Glenwood Cemetery Association to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $12,000 to continue repairs on the cemetery wall on West Main Street. Estimated tax impact, 2 cents per thousand, recommended by the selectmen, 3-0, recommended by the budget committee, 8-0. I would move that Article 22 be placed on the ballot.
All right, so open for discussion.
Tom Alt, I'm the, I was going to say the headstone for the cemetery, the head trustee for the cemetery. How's that sound? And I just thought you ought to have a little update on this because I've been up here for a few years to try to explain this. And everybody's familiar with the wall that runs along the Glenwood Cemetery in town. It was built in 1906, donated by James Henry, who, for those history buffs, also know him as the lumber baron that took out all the wood from Zealand and then burned the woods down. And then when he was up at Zealand Notch, he looked down and saw Lincoln, so he went down to Lincoln and built the town and the paper mill and everything else. But he's buried in Glenwood, and he gave us that wall. Since 1906, it has had intermittent patchwork repairs, and we finally decided that the wall deserved some intensive treatment, so we have given it 5 years. It's 1,500 feet long, but if you count the two sides and the top, it's about 15,000 square feet of pink granite wall. To date, in the 5 years, we have put $75,000 into it, and I want you to keep that in perspective, that won't even hardly buy us a town employee for 1 year. This year, I might as well introduce a little levity into the program here. We decided, because of the tax impact to the town, that we shouldn't ask for $15,000. We should cut our request by 20%. 20%'s a big cut, guys. $3,000. So I figured out what $3,000 is out of the $25 million that we're paying for the school and the highway. And you'll be interested to know that that's 0.01%, which sounds a lot like what you're getting on your checking account these days. Anyways, we should be looking at this year, 2017, and one more year, 2018, to be done. And we figure if we sharpen our pencils and get a little more hard nose, we can get $15,000 worth of work done this year for the $12,000. That will leave one more year of wall, and for those of you that can picture this, as you go from Main Street towards the fire station, the last section of wall will be where you drive down into the chapel at the cemetery, and right after that, it's the high piece of wall that Far Brook runs under, and the brook runs through the cemetery. And that wall is actually part of the infrastructure for Route 18, which is a state highway. So at this point, all we've had is a verbal commitment from DOT that, well, actually, since that wall holds their road up, maybe they ought to be able to at least pitch in for a part of that repair. So the end is in sight. The wall should be good for another 100 years. And the cemetery board appreciates the support that the town has given to keep that structure looking nice. Thank you.
Okay, good. So, ready for the question? Those in favor of placing Article 22 on the ballot, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. So moving on to Article 23.
Article 23, petition warrant article, Littleton Community Center. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to support a donation to the Littleton Community Center Capital Reserve Improvement Fund towards the purchase and installation of new energy-efficient storm windows. Estimated tax impact, 2.1 cents per thousand. Not recommended by the selectmen, 3-0. Not recommended by the Budget Committee, 4-0. I move that we put Article 23 on the ballot.
Second.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, again, Ralph Hodgman. We've seen a lot of articles tonight. We're approving a lot of money for the community, starting with a sewer system that could be probably over the next 10 years is going to cost us money and increase our tax rate every year over the next 10 years. That sewer system is going to be with us. We need that stuff. Things like the community center, this is another nice to do thing. Now here's what I've got with the community center. In 1981, they established a trust fund that at the beginning of the year had $52,000 in it, and now it has $58,000 in it. So the community center has its own trust fund. It has its own money to spend on some of these repairs. It doesn't have to come to us every single year, year after year, and ask for more money. Okay? The community center is not a Littleton town building. It's a private-owned organization. So they also have a budget line in our budget for $35,000. So what the community center is asking for from Littleton this year is $50,000 when they're sitting on a trust fund of $58,000 that just keeps building up more and more every year. So once again, I'm not into nice things. I'm into trying to do things that can keep the residents of this community safe and healthy. Again, I don't recommend putting money into the Littleton Community Center.
Yes, Community House does have a trust fund. However, that's restricted to income. They can't invade the principal on that fund. So the only money they could spend out of that fund would be $5,400 at this point in time. Everything else is restricted.
Okay. But again, they're a private organization. They, again, just like the Opera House, should be self-funded. They should be able to make money off that community house enough to take care of its own repairs. Therefore, it's not recommended by the selectmen. It's not recommended by the budget committee. I don't recommend we put money into the community house this year.
I'm George Mitchell. I am the president of the Community Center Board of Directors. In 1919, Littleton Community Center was established, and it was a place that was made so that people could come together to participate, share, and learn. And we've tried to keep that history of that going through the years. As we're coming up to our 100th year anniversary in 2020, it's our desire to make the Littleton Community Center in as good a shape as it was in 1920 when it was acquired by the Board of Directors for the Community Center. Through the years, there's been just a lot of real work that has been undone to the Community Center. It's set for 80 years, and really not much was done. There was siding put on, vinyl siding put on in the 80s. The vinyl siding was fatigued, and I think if you've driven by in the course of the last 4 or 5 months, you'll notice that it's had a complete facelift. In 2013, we did a complete survey of the number of things that were in desperate need of the community center. We found at least 20 things. I think there was a few more, 21 or 22. And these were things that the community center was not going to be able to continue if the work wasn't done. We were fortunate enough to find some aid and raise some money from some public citizens, for private citizens, as well as from business members to do the roof. That was done in 2013. In 2014, 2014 and 2015, the town of Littleton, as well as private donors and businesses, helped us to raise the amount of money that we needed to fix the electrical and to upgrade the life safety issues that were there, which were numerous. The electrical system was looking at a museum of electricity from the 1800s till the 2000s, and it was kind of scary. So that was done. This past year, we've decided that the next step was to upgrade the outside of the building. The vinyl siding was fatigued, the lead paint was chipping off, parts were starting to deteriorate. We had some rot in some of the and under the vinyl siding because moisture was getting in, and it needed some work. So we took a vote and we used some of the money that we had from the interest in the trust fund that we were able to use, as well as private citizens donated, as well as community members and businesses donated. And what we've done is we've asked the town for the $15,000 to help us cover the storm windows. That was one of the big issues that we had with heating the place. While we were doing the renovation, we had the insulation completely checked, and the insulation was all tightened up as part of this particular project. The one thing that we couldn't do is we couldn't make a new window look like a window from 1884. Just wasn't happening. So we tightened up the windows on the exterior, the inside windows as much as we could. Then we moved on to putting storm windows on that were operable, functional, new, and efficient. And that's what we're asking the town for, is to help out with those storm windows. We have some of them that are in already, but we need to put the rest of them on, as well as windows in the basement that were the old 1884 windows that have just deteriorated over the last few years, the last 100 years, and we need to replace those. So we're asking the town for that help. Thank you.
I'm Regina Bowler, and I'm the secretary on the Community House Board of Trustees. I'd also like to speak to the fact that as a board, we have been fiscally responsible in pursuing grants, including a significant LCHIP grant a few years ago that helped to fund much of that electrical work in addition to community dollars. That we continue to do fundraising every year. We do rent out to two community business persons spaces on the second floor. For use of the building, it is true that private individuals or for-profit businesses can rent our venue, but as a board, we decided to give back to the community this year, and we no longer charge nonprofits that choose to use our venue. So meetings are open to groups that need to come there and just simply apply. And our host continues to serve our community well, and we thank both of them very much. Thank you.
Okay, ready for the question? Those in favor of placing Article 23 on the ballot as presented, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no?
No.
Okay, Article 23 is in the affirmative. Article 24.
Well, last time I tried to hurry up, my friend and neighbor Tom Alt dashed my hopes for hurrying up, but we'll move along. And his remarks were well received. Article 24, petition warrant article Library Building Improvement Fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $15,000 to be placed in the Library Building Improvement Fund, which was created at the 2014 town meeting. Said funds to come from taxation. The estimated tax impact is 0.21 cents per thousand. This is not recommended by the selectmen, 3-0. Not recommended by the budget committee, 4-0. I move that we place Article 24 on the ballot. Second.
Okay.
You get a different voice this time.
Okay.
I'm Barbara Anderson. I'm on my second year as trustee of the Board of Trustees of the library. Some exciting things are happening at the library. We have just hired a new director. She's young. She has a Master of Library Science. She's previously worked at the White Mountain Community College in conjunction with the Berlin and Gorham libraries. She's eager to work with our schools, our senior centers, and everybody else who wants to work with her. The reason we are asking for money, really, is because the library, like the Opera House and the Community House, it's old. It's almost, I think it's over 100 years old. I don't do the facts, like I'm not good at history. But if you would go in and just put your hand up close to any window, you can feel the cold air coming in. I was a bunch of us went in and cleaned the other day. I was cleaning down under a radiator, and you can feel the cold air coming from the window down under the radiator. We're wasting money by sending heat outside. I wouldn't do that in my own house. I don't want to do it in a town building. That's a beautiful building. We need to keep it up. If some of you people think, well, books are obsolete, we don't need books, people don't read books anymore, how come there was an article in the newspaper the other day, yesterday I think, about this guy that stole 400 books from Barnes & Noble in the Salem area? We have also 4 computers that the public can use. We have over 50 magazine subscriptions they can come in and use. They can come into almost 4 or 5 daily newspapers, weekly newspapers. We have a historical collection. If there was any of the young people here who have enjoyed the lap sit, where the mothers come in with their children and read stories, it's very important for our young people. Come rent a movie. It's a lot cheaper than going downtown. And if you think we have a lot of money from the Fran Heald, she left us a lot of money. We can't touch that. We only can use that for the historical collection. There were restrictions on that. So if you think we got a lot of money, we don't.
No, go ahead, Bob. You can come up. You're first. No, you're first. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Arwin Minton, and I'm the Emerging Technologies Librarian at the library. I'm the first person to hold that position in our library, and I've seen with my own eyes how the library's been progressing over the 2 years that I've been there. We are not obsolete as a library. We are a vital service, I believe, to this town. We have senior citizens that come in, and I teach them how to do email for the first time. I have members of this town who come in on their last wit's end going, I have to do this online application, and I have never even touched a computer. I don't know how to do this. And there's people in their 50s who are trying to get back to work who are not computer literate, and that's another thing we do. We have wonderful programs for the children there that come in after school. We're having a Polar Pals right now where students from this building come down to the library to read to little kids, and it goes for 6 weeks, and it's very well representative by the kids, and then both levels get a lot out of it. The building was built in 1905. It's an old building. It's had a lot of little patches and helps to it, but it needs maintenance, as any old building does. And I really don't understand why the selectmen and the budget committee are not wanting to put money into a maintenance fund for any old town building rather than to have a huge expense at some time in the future. That just doesn't make sense to me. We spent, the staff at the library, along with the board, spent all day Saturday just cleaning the library and trying to preserve things that were put into storage and recycle things that weren't needed anymore, and to make use of that space as best we can. We're very frugal there. I took 2 old computers that were not even working and got them working again so that we could have 4 patron computers instead of 2 for the adults. And it seems like this town doesn't want to support. A lot of members of the town, a lot of the residents in this town don't see the need for culture and education and on resources that not only benefit the individuals in this town, but people who visit Littleton. You wouldn't believe the number of visitors we get that come in, of tourists, that say they have never seen a library as wonderful as ours, as far as a building, a structure. It's a gem of the town, of the Main Street, and a lot of people say that. We have works of art in there that we just, it's like a little art museum that we have here in Littleton, and you have to put money in to keep things from being just torn down. You could not rebuild that building the way it is. It would not have the charm, it would not have the character, it would not draw in people to Littleton that come here every year to visit and spend their money here. So please support this.
Let's see, Bob, was Bob?
Somebody else before me? Okay, we've both
Okay.
spoken anyway. Oh, I can't see. I'm going to talk really fast. I just want to mention it is a historical building. In 1902, Littleton received a $15,000 grant from the Carnegie Foundation. So it's an Andrew Carnegie library. 2,500 Carnegie libraries were built between 1883 and 1929. Only 1,689 were built in the United States. We are so lucky that we got a Carnegie Library in Littleton. It is in the classic revival style, designed by Robert Coit. And our library opened in 1906. The interior was renovated in 1960, and the children's room was recently renovated. And the citizens, I was part of this website I just read from, so you can go to the littletonpubliclibrary.org. And that was a donation. I mean, we do a lot of donations, but this is an incredible building. We need to preserve it.
Bob, did you want to come up?
Maybe something old, something new. This year, I was doing a documentary video on the history of Littleton, and the place I went first was right down in the library. I went into the historical room and found out that they were selling bread for 20 cents a loaf when 50 years ago, and things like that. On the new, my library card lets me pick volumes out of the New Hampshire State Library, and I take one out a week. And that's great. I don't have to go out in the snow to get it. And so our library, serves historical, it serves new. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, and I'm going to be the advocate here, all right? Again, our tax rate just went up $2.59 per thousand. There's a lot of seniors and a lot of people in this town that cannot afford that increase. My personal increase was $800. I'm not rich. I had to go back to a part-time job. I've been retired for 6 years. I had to go back to work to pay this year's $800 increase in my taxes. So I'm now working part-time when I really don't want to. Again, I believe we need to do things for this community that will create a safe and healthy community. I don't believe we need to put money into nice-to-do things, such as, right now, the library is a nice-to-do thing. And when I say that, the library's asking for $15,000 for repairs, but they've already got a line item in the budget of $282,500. We're already giving the library out of the budget $282,000. Now they want another $15,000. Well, that means that the taxpayers, us, are funding the library this year $260,000. That's a huge increase to our tax rate. Again, and yeah, okay, they've got a restricted funds here. They've got $449,000 sitting in funds in a trust, of which right now it looks like they got $18,000 they can use out of that trust. So they're asking us for $15,000 when they got $18,000 sitting in a trust they can go ahead and pull out and use. And we're paying them $282,000 on top of that. I think we're out of control here. I think we don't need to support the library at this point. Okay, that's a personal opinion, but I'm trying to represent a lot of the seniors in this town that cannot keep affording these nice-to-do things and keep our houses. Okay.
Hi, this is Aaron Parkening. Can the selectmen talk about why they didn't want to support this?
One of the issues here is that this isn't an important thing to fund. One of the issues here is it goes back to what Ralph said. The $2.59 clearly took our breath away. It was, as you know, it was the assessed value of our properties, both business and residential, and it was the negotiated settlement with the dam. It was almost a perfect storm, given it all came together at the same time. All of these things are important, but there needed to be some prioritization. I was the one voted no on a number of articles. It adds up to 26 cents when you look at the no's that I voted no. The last one that I voted no was a no impact one. I had fallen asleep at that point, I guess, and made a mistake, and I apologize to Mary for that at our last meeting. But it's a prioritization issue here. That $2.59 was a big kick for all of us. And so I can only speak for myself, but I prioritized those two labor agreements, and road repair is my top priority. So I was making some no decisions along the way, only on that basis, not on the basis of what's important. All of these things are important. That library building's important to us as well. But we had to make decisions, or at least I had to, and that's why I did that.
Regina Bowler, I support the use of these funds for the maintenance of the library. I'd like to echo a sentiment I expressed at a past town meeting, which is I intentionally chose to move back to this community as compared to other communities in the area, having grown up in Grafton County. And I really appreciate that I can come to downtown and go to the library and take a few more steps and go to the community house and take a few more steps and walk into the Thayers and see the historic photographs and walk a few more steps down to the Opera House and down to Harmony Park. And I'm so proud of that not only do I tell my friends to come to town and not just go to Chudder's, but check out all these beautiful people, but last summer I invited summer camp children to come here and treasure hunt for the day. And when we walked around and up and down the street, I spoke to people, they spoke to me, and these children from all over New Hampshire and Maine and Massachusetts said, "Everybody in town knows your name." And I said, well, not everybody, but it is just like the Pollyanna statue where it is a happy community, and I'm very happy to live here. And people truly are friendly and look out for each other, including, the forgetful little lady that we said hi to, or the retired school teacher who made fun of me for having strange children follow me around town. This is a beautiful place to live, and it's more than just the buildings. It is more than just the services. It is the entire community, and we do need our library.
I'm going to address your question of why the selectmen voted no. Same as Milt, really. Huge tax impact. Got to cut back. I felt the library was less valuable than some of the ones that I voted for in terms of what will those dollars bring back to the community. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion.
Ready for the question? Article 24. Those in favor of placing Article 24 on the ballot say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
No.
So Article 24 is voted in the affirmative. Article 25.
Before we go to the remaining articles, I need to explain something to all of you. We have had votes on a few petitioned articles for operations that are within town here, the library, the Opera House, etc. Going forward, we're dealing with petitioned warrant articles that are social service or human service agencies. And as you know, if you've been here for a few years, we have passed over these articles. And I just want to read to you the reminder. The Department of Revenue Administration, following state law, requires that if a select board passes over a petitioned article, it must be noted as not recommended. The three of us as selectmen have chosen to pass over petitioned social service articles, and we have one here that's also, I guess, a medical article, due to a lack of knowledge of overall need and ongoing operational issues faced by the organizations that have a cost or service quality implications. I'm sorry, I didn't read that well. Unlike what we possess operationally in terms of the police department, the fire department, the highway department, the transfer station, the town operations, where we get ongoing information as to operational issues, we don't have that with the social service agencies. Many of them, if not most of them, are regional in nature in terms of their services. These are all fine agencies, and individually, each of us may be voting as voters for these articles. But as a select board, we chose to pass over them because we don't have the same operational knowledge that we do with our town articles, our town operations, or some of the operations we just talked about. Representative Hennessy, I don't believe, is here anymore. She put forward a bill to address this issue at the legislature. I went down, and a few other citizens went down and testified to the viability of having three options: a yes, a no, or a passover. The committee that we spoke to was the Municipal and County Legislative Committee. There were 15 members there. A few days later, the vote went down 10-5. They rejected our arguments. So our issue here is not with the viability of these agency requests and the needs that they have. Our issue is that we don't feel comfortable voting as we do on department level budgets because we simply don't have that information. And even if people come forward and speak for 10 minutes here, we still don't have that ongoing information, nor could we possibly get it at the same level of efficiency as we get our departments. So we individually may support this, but as a select board, we've chosen not to, and because we've chosen not to, it has to say at the end that we do not recommend it. So anybody have a question about that? I know we're moving along here, so I'll try to get this done quickly. I'm sorry.
I just have a comment. Would it be possible, and I understand everything you just said, would it be possible for the select board to put in the town report or in some forum that is larger than this small number of people, the explanation you just gave?
Yeah, I think we did that a couple of years ago. I don't think we did it last year, but perhaps by March 14th, when we have to go vote, or whatever the date is, we can have a statement put out. Because clearly, it's the wrong statement. We simply are passing over here. Okay. Thank you. So, Article 20, I'm sorry, Jerry.
I have a question on that, Milt. I'm going to represent the senior center here on our article. But in some communities that our senior center serves, they put the amount of money that we ask right into their budget. Why can't we do that in Littleton?
Have we ever done that, as far as we know?
We probably haven't,
right.
But why can't we?
Who says you can't?
Well, other communities that we
Who
serve
said you
do.
can't?
I guess that would have to be a request that would come to us for consideration.
Okay.
I can't think of a reason why we couldn't, but there may be. But there's no reason why you couldn't ask for that going forward.
Like next year?
Like next year.
Okay.
And if it's a no, we'll clearly, obviously let you know that and the reasons why. But if other communities are doing it, that doesn't necessarily mean it's correct, but they are doing it, so perhaps it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I respect your opinions and all on why you don't recommend these. Is there any way, and maybe you can think about it over the next year, how you could get this information from all these groups? Have one or two or three come and talk to you about what their groups do and what those monies, how they are used, so that you could get educated?
I'll give you a quick answer here, Mary.
Sure.
I think that's the reason why it was turned down at the committee level, because in larger municipalities, they have elected budget committees that meet all year round, and they meet with all of those agencies on an ongoing basis. And they know them pretty well, is what I was told, not at the meeting, but after the meeting. So I think the resistance to this was that they thought we were trying to not do something that we should be doing, because in some communities, that's exactly what they do. They have these agencies come in and they interview them. And the assumption I'm making, because they have elected budget committees, they meet with them more than once during the year.
I'm talking about coming to the selectmen.
That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm saying.
So I'm sorry, I don't understand why.
We just haven't done it.
Okay, good. But please think about it. Be
Right.
good.
I think that committee was saying the same thing to us. Article 25, Grafton County Senior Center. Shall the voters raise and appropriate $34,000 to Grafton County Senior Citizens Council Incorporated through the Littleton Area Senior Center and the Service Link Resource Center for services for Littleton residents in 2017. These services include congregate meals, home-delivered meals, transportation, outreach support services for 696 Littleton residents, and Service Link provides services for 106 residents. The cost of providing these services was $403,151.85. Estimated tax impact, 4.7 cents per thousand. Not recommended by the Selectmen, 3-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee, 6-1 with one abstention. Make a motion to put this on the... Thank you. We have, okay.
All right. Discussion.
My name is Bob Mew, and I'm on the Advisory Council of the Littleton Area Senior Center, and I also serve as Secretary of the Grafton County Senior Citizens Council. We oversee 8 senior centers throughout the county, and our basic function through nutrition, transportation, and socialization is to foster an environment in which senior citizens can age with dignity and safety, free from hunger, maintaining their social interactions, and remaining engaged in the community. The 11% of our budget that we receive from county government and the municipalities we serve is critically important to our operations. Back in 2012, during the federal sequestration, we suffered pretty badly. We took about a $100,000 budget cut. We had to dip substantially into cash reserves, and we're still recovering from that. So it takes a lot of creative financial management and people assuming additional responsibilities, like our director here in Littleton is also the associate director for the agency overall. I guess the other thing I just want to say is I've heard the term bang for the buck used liberally tonight, and I think that we deliver that. We have a very lean staff of capable professionals, and countywide they're augmented by about 1,000 volunteers. Thank you.
Good.
Hi, my name is Carol Zangler, and I'm the director of the Littleton Area Senior Center. And I'm not a Littleton resident, so I do thank everybody for letting me speak, especially on this center, because it's a passion of mine. We are a community center. We are a drop-in community center, really no different than the Parks and Rec Department, but we are not in the budget. of the town. We lease the building from the town, and we are responsible for all the maintenance in that building. If it needs a new roof, it's our problem. If it needs new windows, it's our problems. And we have traditionally taken care of every one of those problems. At our center, we serve primarily people that are over 60 and disabled adults, but we don't turn anybody away. If you come in, we don't ask your age. We don't have any registration forms. We don't ask questions. You can come in, you can use the computers, you can have a cup of coffee. We are truly a community center. We are also a secondary emergency shelter for the town, as well as a cooling center for the state of New Hampshire in the summer. Our posted hours are 8 to 3, Monday through Friday, but our doors really open at 5:30 in the morning. They don't shut till 4 at night, and they're open a lot of times on the weekend. If there's a staff member in there, it's open. You can come in, you can get your coffee, you can go on the computers, check your email, anything you want to do. We really are a welcoming community building. We have clubs, we have a living room, we have computers, exercise equipment, we do health fairs, educational forums, ping pong, a library, entertainment, lots and lots of food. We don't charge for any of these services. We do ask for donations, and some of the yoga programs and other things do ask for a $2 charge that goes directly to the instructor, but for the most part, we don't charge. Our services in Littleton include 2 lift-equipped buses that go door to door and are on-demand transportation. These are for both non-essential and essential rides, so we'll take people to the doctor's office, we'll take them to pick up their pharmacy prescriptions, we'll take them to Walmart, Shaw's, and even to get their hair done. So they can go anywhere at all that they want to go. Last year, we gave almost 5,000 rides to Littleton residents alone. Our Meals on Wheels program is very critical to this area. It is more than just a nutritional program. It's a welfare check. We do a survey as an agency, and many of our clients report that the volunteer driver that we send with the daily mail is the only person they see all day, and oftentimes all week long. Those are our community members that have nobody that checks on them. They can't cook, they can't go out and get their food, and we serve 100 meals a day to just Littleton residents alone, all through volunteer drivers. It's just an amazing program. We served 23,000 meals last year, home delivered, Meals on Wheels, just in Littleton. And for anybody who hasn't seen that, I invite you to come down and just ride along on a route and see the people that we serve that are in your community and see how important it really is. It's just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. They're your friends, they're your neighbors, they're your mothers, they're people that you know, and they're right here next door to you. We do dining room meals every day at noon. We serve about 50 to 125 people. Last year we did 10,000 Littleton residents. Meals went to Littleton residents in our dining room, and that's by donation only. If you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. We don't turn you away. We did 1,100 social work and service link hours to Littleton residents alone last year. 6,000 hours of planned activity and literally countless hours of socialization. Like I said, we're open all the time. And 97 Littleton volunteers gave almost 14,000 hours of volunteer service. So obviously, there's people here that think that we and what we do is very worth it. And Littleton has been very supportive over the years to us. They've always been there for us, and I'd like to thank everybody for that. It's great that you come out, and we hope you stop by, play a game of ping pong with us.
Bill O'Toole from the Senior Center. Just to give you an idea, we do rent from the town in lieu of taxes. I think we pay $350 a month. But we also keep the building up to the way it would be our own building. This year, we spent $9,200 on upgrading the lighting to LED, put a new floor in, vinyl floor, $25,998, replaced all the outside emergency doors, $9,984, replaced carpeting, $13,500, and we had to put a new hot water heater in. That's $62,000 that the seniors spent on
keeping the building that belongs to Littleton, which has been a great building for us, and we really appreciate it. So we've done a lot of that money on fundraising, because we have a walkathon, and it raises a lot of money. But we need that other $34,000 to help feed the meal program. But thank you for all your support.
Yeah, I got to say one more thing about the senior center. It's also an emergency shelter for the town. River Glen already has keys. If something happens over there, they can come to the senior center. And also, I want to tell you, it's not just for old people anymore. We're trying to change the name to Over 50 Fun Center, so everybody come on down. And the other thing, I just want to tell you a couple stories. I've delivered Meals on Wheels a couple of times. A couple of sad stories. I went into one. You have to go in a back place and around a couple of hallways, and finally you find the door to the apartment. You knock on the door. He says, come in. You have to go into his bedroom. There's this man. I didn't look at him too closely, but I swear he was sitting there in his underwear, no legs. His arm was about as big around as this microphone, sitting there just waiting for somebody to come with a meal. If that doesn't tug at your heart, I don't know what does. I had another one where a guy came to the door in a wheelchair with no legs. He could just barely get through a path in his room to come to the door and get his meal. These are the kind of people that the Meals on Wheels deliver to. But the congregate meals at the senior center are the fun things that we want you to come down to and take part in. We have a lot of good activities, too.
Okay. Ready? Jerry?
I just want to add a couple more things. And one of the things that we do a great deal at the senior center is deal with people, some of which are probably your parents, okay, who have dementia. And we're not the best at it, but we guide these people and try to help them. Because that can happen to any one of us in this room. 10 years from now, we could have dementia. And so it's important that we think about things like the older people, primarily people in their late 70s, their 80s, 90s, okay? We got to think about it.
Hitting pretty close to home there, Chair. Just saying, that's all. Yeah. So, are we ready for the question? Article 25. Those in favor of placing it on the ballot, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. So, Article 26.
Barbara, I thought you said you were going to tell us a couple of funny stories.
Yes.
See you later.
Yeah, okay. Article 26, petition warrant article, Boys and Girls Club. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to support the Boys and Girls Club of the North Country in order to provide a healthy, safe, and productive after-school and vacation camp environment for children from Littleton and other area towns. Estimated tax impact, 1.4 cents per thousand. Not recommended by the Selectmen, 3-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee, 6-1, 1 abstention. I move Article 26.
Okay. Ready for the question?
I say something.
Yeah, okay.
Franco Rossi. I feel compelled to just briefly say something on this article. Primarily, well, it's important to me, but primarily because it failed by only a couple of votes last year, and I would hate to see that happen again. Boys and Girls Club serves many Littleton children on a daily basis after school, and of course through the summer. Recognize, I mean, $10,000 is $10,000, and I'm not minimizing that. But to give a comparison, there are other area towns that do commit resources to this. Of the 139 kids that go to the Boys and Girls Club after school every day, 68 or almost half of them are from Littleton. That $10,000 represents less than $150 per child commitment, whereas Lisbon, Landaff, and Lyman combined really amount to the other half, 65. There's six handful from others. Their combined commitments in those towns come to more than $230 per child. They're making a real commitment to supporting that. There's even a couple of towns, Sugar Hill and Easton, who don't have any kids go there, and they still commit some dollars to this. My rudimentary math doesn't allow me to figure out what per child rate that would be. So I think it's an important program. It really helps kids with their schoolwork, gives them a safe place to go after school, rather than being latchkey kids. Some of them are getting old enough to, if they were left to their own devices at home, we don't know what kind of trouble they'd get into. We've seen some of the things that have been going on that we're trying to battle in Littleton, whether it's drug-related or whatever. So I would urge everyone to please support that article. Thanks.
Okay.
Kim DeLutis. I just want to say that they also do a lot of fundraising, so please look out for the Boys and Girls Club fundraisers that go on, and the casino night just happened, and it is the event of the year.
Okay, ready for the question? All those in favor of placing Article 26 on the ballot, say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, the ayes have it. 27.
We're racing towards the 11 o'clock deadline. Article 27, petition warrant article support center at Birch House to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,080 for the support center at Birch House. These funds will support essential domestic and sexual violence prevention services and emergency shelter for victims and survivors in the community. The estimated tax impact is .004 cents per thousand, not recommended by the selectmen 3-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-1 with 1 abstention. I move that Article 27 be placed on the ballot.
So Article 27. Ready for the question? All those in favor of placing it on the ballot, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Number 28.
Article 28, Northern Human Services, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,696 as the town's contribution to White Mountain Mental Health and Common Ground programs of Northern Human Services, serving the mental health and developmental service needs of Littleton residents. Tax impact is 1.3 cents per thousand, not recommended by the selectmen 3-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-1 with 1 abstention. Make a motion to put this on the warrant. Thank you. Jane McKay is here from Northern Human Services. Would you like to speak to this issue? Thank you.
Yes, I'm Jane McKay. I'm the Director of Northern Human Services, White Mountain Mental Health. I wanted to make a quick comment back to the issue of the Select Board making a decision not to remain silent, which isn't really silent, because if I'm a Littleton resident and I'm at the ballot box and I see that my Select Board, who represents me, says no, I'm probably going to think that must mean it's not a good idea. It's a no. So I'd really like to see that changed. I'd also like to say that, although I understand totally that you're right, that you don't have the same degree of oversight of these articles that you would of articles in the town budget, there is a fairly extensive application for nonprofits that includes a full narrative, goals, objectives, how do we indicate success, do we charge, number of people seen, income and expenses, et cetera, et cetera. So certainly the select board has a fair amount of information. It's not just, you know, we'd like this money. So I guess I would like to say again to you folks, I'd really like you to consider the message you're giving to the community. I manage, 22 towns in Upper Grafton and Coos and 17 in Carroll County, and Littleton is the only town that takes this position. There are many towns that put important medical and social services in their budget. And there are many others that do it as we do, as a warrant article, which is fine. But there are no other towns, to my knowledge, that remain mute, and it translates to a no. So about White Mountain Mental Health. You know, this gentleman had said that he feels strongly that the town should only be supporting things that are directly related to health and safety of the community. So I can't think of anything that's more related to health and safety of the community than mental health. If left untreated, mental health conditions can and do progress to more serious problems that impact the health and safety of the whole community in the form of suicides, homicides, police and court involvement, domestic violence, need for expensive services within the school system, child abuse and neglect, impaired driving, loss of productive work time, et cetera, et cetera. Without town support, people who have money can get service. People who are fully insured can get service, and there are many fine providers of behavioral health services in our community, which is great. However, if it's 4 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night and your child is brought to the hospital because they've made a suicide attempt, you want somebody there who's going to be competent to deal with that situation. And that's why we're called a safety net. The money that we ask for the town goes directly to people who are not insured or have very high deductibles and aren't able to pay them, and to support our emergency services system, which operates at a huge loss and involves not only a master's level clinician, but a psychiatrist 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we saw 262 people from Littleton who did not have insurance or were needing a reduced fee, and we saw many more than that who did have insurance. We're just asking the town for support for the people who can't pay. That was 3,709 hours of service. That's a lot. And I would just ask, and this is a very small group, it's difficult without a town meeting because, you know, it's sort of like there's no way to get to the greater voters. But I would ask you folks to at least consider my comments and talk to your friends. And I think with mental health, and this is the end, but it's especially important because there is a stigma. And, you know, there are people who will, I think when people read about certain organizations, everybody can relate. Everybody gets old, everybody has health problems, physical health problems, but people deny that mental health is a need. And that still happens even today. So it's, when you see on the ballot mental health, it's easy to think, oh, that's somebody else, and that's somebody else should deal with that. It doesn't hit home until it's you and your family. So I appreciate your attention. Thanks.
Thank you. You ready for the question on 28? Those in favor of placing Article 28 on the ballot, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, so we're up to 29.
Article 29, petition warrant article Tri-County Transit. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $4,000 in support of the Tri-Town public bus service, Estimated tax impact, 0.015 cents per thousand, not recommended by the selectmen, 3-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee, 6-1, with one abstention. I move we place Article 29 on the ballot.
Second.
Ready for the question? Article 29. Those in favor of placing Article 29 on the ballot, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, the ayes have it. Article 30.
Article 30, petition warrant article, Tri-County Community Action. See if the town of Littleton will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $11,000 for the Tri-County Community Action, Grafton County, for the purpose of continuing services of the Fuel Assistance Program to residents of Littleton. Estimated tax impact, 1.5 cents per thousand. Not recommended by the Selectmen, 3-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee, 6-1, one abstention. I move Article 30.
Second.
Ready for the question? All those in favor of placing Article 30 on the ballot, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, so we're up to Article 30, well, yeah, Article 31.
Article 31, Amanuzik Community Health Services, Inc., to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 for Amanuzik Community Health Services, Inc. ECHS is a nonprofit community health center that provides primary preventative health care to anyone regardless of their ability to pay. This will help ACHS continue to provide high-quality care to 2,119 current Littleton patients, as well as reach more of those in need. Estimated tax impact, 2 cents per thousand. I'm sorry, is that 2 cents per thousand? Not recommended by the Selectmen, 3-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee, 6-1, with one abstention. Make a motion to approve to put on the budget on the warrant. I'm sorry. Thank you.
So this is Article 31. Ready for the question on Article 31? All those? No?
Rudy Jalse. On Article 31, first of all, I use this community service, and believe it or not, I go with it for both tests, right, stuff like that. They charge me $147 for 5 minutes. I don't pay, the insurance pay. But even so, how the hell did they ask the taxpayer a little time $15,000? For what? When, I got to pay $147 when I go with that. Yeah. I understand that, but this is money that comes from a taxpayer.
Literally community health.
Community health, yeah. But even so, I don't see it there. I mean, I hope people about them know, it's just about that. That's my opinion. Because, for 5 minutes I got to pay $147. Doesn't really, make any sense.
Okay.
What do you want me to do?
Rudy, I don't work for Amanuzik Community Health, but I do know enough that they serve those that can't pay on a sliding fee scale. If you have insurance or you can pay, then you pay. They need help for those that can't.
So I'm Ed Shinshell, I'm the CEO of Amanuzik Community Health Services, and due to Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Acts, I can't comment on individual matters of insurance. However, we do have a billing department that you're more than willing to discuss it with. I'd like to thank the town for investing in our ability to provide health care to those who cannot afford it since 1975. And with the continued investment since those years, we've been able to add services, including the most recent dental. And with the Affordable Care Act, we still have people who are Medicareable, who do not have a secondary, who get a sliding fee scale discount for medical, for behavioral, for pharmacy. And we've been able to get people out of the emergency department to get their dental care with us. And so I appreciate it. The investment is significant for us. And as Skylar said, we do see all people regardless of their ability to pay. Our poorest patient pays $15 to see the physician or the behavioral health specialist and $25 to see the dentist. And their medications range from $4 to $12 a prescription. So thank you.
Ready for the question? Article 31. All those in favor of placing Article 31 on the ballot, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, Article 32.
Article 32 is our last article, and before I read it, I would publicly like to take this opportunity, because it's his last deliberative session, to thank Ed Hennessy for his year of service. Thank you, Ed. Article 32, petition warrant article Caleb Caregivers, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $2,000 for support of Caleb Caregivers, Inc., a nonprofit organization helping seniors live independently. Estimated tax impact, 1 cent. Not recommended by the selectmen, 3 to nothing. Recommended by the Budget Committee, 6 to 1 with 1 abstention. I move we place Article 32 on the ballot.
Second.
Ready for the question? All those in favor of placing Article 32 on the ballot, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And you got something? Okay.
So this is the last part of the meeting. I just want to give you some good news. The 2017 tax rate impact, just making some adjustments to the last slide. The proposed budget with all warrant articles, if they were approved, will result in an estimated tax rate of 8.23 cents. That's 34 cents less than last year's tax rate. The 2017 default with all warrant articles, if approved, would be 42 cents less than last year, which is $8.12. And again, a tax rate is based on 3 main components: the assessed value of all parcels in town, the expenditures minus the revenues. And the good news there is that we expect the assessed value of the community to have a nice bump this year. Last year's decline, as mentioned before, was a settlement with the dam. We do expect some positive movement there. We also have additional revenues that haven't that we expect but haven't budgeted, and including some additional money through pilots that we're expecting. So just some good news. Tax rate will likely be down for 2017. So.
Entertain a motion to adjourn. Second? All those in favor? The meeting adjourned.